It's strange that I like kind artists. Getting money, ain't focused. Tree, I like one artist. Oh, night, what's up? Hyggelig å ha deg på stream, Night. Gjerne del stream. Endelig ferdig med barneskolen. Det er digg. Takk i like måte, Dinos. Ja, Night. Det er så digg å være på ny skole. Eller, det er sommerferie nå. Men etter sommerferien så kommer vi til å ha Hæ? Sluttet vi i går? Bø. Sluttet vi i dag? I dag har vi bare gjort masse sånn chille greier på en måte. Ja, det har jeg også. Det er veldig digg. Tre på stream, hjertelig velkommen. Det er sånn halve august da. Bro, what? Ja, jeg tror faktisk jeg har det, ja. Jeg tror jeg begynner 18. august. Nei, da tror jeg ikke det. Kanskje vi begynner på samme skole. Åja! Maybe. Eller la oss spørs litt da. Nei, jeg tror heller ikke det. Hvilken skole gikk du på, Night? Åja, nei, da vet jeg ikke. Jeg har ikke hørt om den før, jeg. Ja, RIP, det hadde vært så hørt det. Og begynner på NMU. Åja, ok. Gjerne skriv ting dere skal gjøre i sommerferien, folkens. Bro. Vil du ha den? Hvordan... Åh, nå, det var 37. Legger det veldig på stream? Nei, det er ikke det. Yo, Aksel, hva skjer, bro? Hyggelig å ha deg på stream. God sommer. Aksel, begynner du på ungdomsskolen nå, eller har du allerede gått der? Nei. Nei. Jeg er glemsk, så jeg skjønner ikke hva det svaret der var til. Nei. Jeg klarer jo å notice. I was geeking. Wifi-en min suger. Det går bra, ok. Wifi-en er sikkert like dårlig som jeg er i Fortnite. Det er på en bar. What? En sånn, en strek. Rest in peace. Jeg skal dra etterpå, folkens. Jeg skal på båttur. Det blir chill. Så jeg tror nok ikke det kommer til å bli så veldig mye streamings i sommerferien, men det blir nok 1 eller 2. Jeg kjeder meg egentlig. Ja, same. Det er eneste grunnen til at jeg streamer da. Det er en del, liksom, det er ikke så digg å være ute nå, fordi det er ganske overskya, men jeg tror det skal bli ganske mye deiligere etterpå, så da stikker jeg, og så skal jeg uansett ut med båten etterpå, så da passer det nice. Jeg var førstemann ut, og døra på skolen. Streamen legger skikkelig på grunn av det. Ok. Fordi det var sånn, i siste time, så, eller i stort sett hele dagen, så har vi sett på film. Og så, ja, og så, liksom, mot slutten da, så begynte de å si sånn, ja, god sommer, og så kom de andre lærerne inn, og liksom sånt. Og så fort de sier sånn, ja, da kan dere egentlig pakke og dra, løper jeg ut døra. Alle de andre satt nede. Liksom påstående sin da. Siden nettet mitt er dårlig, så kan jeg ikke spille Fortnite, og Minecraft er nede. Bro. Er ditt også dårlig? Fly high til deg da. Eller rest in peace. Peace. Han er duden som er så... Oh my god. For et hit. Wow. Jeg hadde 0 sjans. Men jeg har ikke telefon tydeligvis. Nei! Nei, han døde av en sånn bot. Er det kødd? Season 7, den er helt grei. Jeg liker ikke helt UFO'en og sånn da. Men ja, ellers så... Den er ganske chill, liksom. Snipers er tilbake. Jeg liker ikke den nye sniperen. Den er alt for overpowered. Og så... Ja... Alt det andre er liksom ganske normalt, liksom. Mappet synes jeg er helt passe. Det er ikke så liksom mye annerledes fra forrige, så det synes jeg er chill. Det der er det eneste, men jeg er ikke så ofte i midten, så bryr meg ikke så mye. Og så pleier jeg å holde meg unna de stedene der det er lilla, fordi det er så irr når du liksom bare blir fullspam av de der UFO'ene. Så ja, den er helt grei. You know, liksom, jeg skulle ønske de ikke hadde så mange, liksom, OP-ting, på en måte. Sånn som den nye sniperen og UFO'er og sånne ting, men den er liksom sånn, de andre, det har vært dårlige sesonger, så jeg er ganske fornøyd med den. Ja, jeg vet, den er sjukt irriterende, fordi liksom sånn, jeg liker egentlig ikke jeg synes ikke den er noe bra å bruke den. Jeg liker ikke å bruke den, fordi jeg synes det er vanskelig å bruke den, ja. Fordi liksom sånn, du bare skyter et sted. Eller det er nesten ikke vanskelig å bruke den heller. Men jeg liker ikke å bruke den, fordi ja, jeg er litt mer vant med sånn scopes og sånn. Så jeg skal ikke stoppe folk fra å bruke den, men ja, jeg hadde ikke brukt den i hvert fall. Det her er ganske heftig sted, synes jeg da. Jeg har ikke landet her så mange ganger. Jeg har landet her en annen gang. 2 andre ganger, mener jeg. Det er litt sånn som det der andre farmstedet. Det er veldig likt. Ja. Det er også en morsom del av Fortnite. Ja, sant. Nå skal vi spille det der treve-tre-greiene. Det der. Der. Se på det her. Se så nydelig det er. Se så bra gjort det her der. Sånn. Smest! Ja, ja. Det er bra gjort det. Det da. Jeg elsker den dansen der, men jeg har den ikke. Jeg vet ikke hva den heter. Kan noen skrive i chat hva den dansen der heter? Den der.
Across the country, I finished the show and I hop in it. I got me a milli, I did it legitly. I'm still with the I'm hot. I heard across the
Wow. Oh my god, clutch. Oh my god, hvert fall clutch. I'm flying again. Just a oi, satan. Jeg tror han var under. Flying, get up. Just a hundred, just let up. 'Cause baby, dun, 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 dun.
The Nissan Skyline R34 GTR sold 3 months ago at auction for $359,000. In 2013, you could get the same car for $50,000. So how did a niche Japanese sports car that was already expensive go from being under MSRP to 7 times over MSRP in less than a decade, all while being illegal to own in the United States? Let's talk about that.
Tucking into the left-hander. Lots of Nismo in Japan over Mr. Hiyoki to come and have a look at it. He's amazed by it. He's up another 3.
The GTR story starts in the 1960s. A small Japanese car maker by the name of Prince Motor Company used to sell luxury automobiles for the Japanese market. Their most famous models, a Luxo cruiser called the Gloria and a sports car called the Skyline. Prince loved to race cars, so they designed the Skyline with competition in mind. And while it wasn't the fastest car on track, it was quick enough to even get the Porsche drivers a little bit nervous at the Japanese Grand Prix in the mid-60s. In 1966, Nissan, one of the dominant players in the Japanese car world, was struggling to keep up with the automotive juggernaut at the time, Toyota. And so, in an effort to gain manufacturing strength and technologies, Nissan hammered out a merger deal with Prince Motor Company, and they began selling Prince cars at their own Nissan Prince dealerships. This was a rocky transition at first, but eventually things began to smooth out. Market share began to grow, and Nissan decided to start phasing out the Prince name in favor of just Nissan. And in 1969, Nissan took one of the favorite Prince cars, the Prince Skyline, and make a hotted up version that gave consumers a taste of the Skyline's motorsports heritage. What they came out with was the PGC-10 Nissan Skyline Gran Turismo Racing, or GTR. This was a 4-door Skyline with a dual overhead cam, inline 6, making 160 horsepower. Advertised alongside the Nissan R380 race car, this Skyline GTR meant business, and the Japanese public were impressed with the motorsports-derived drivetrain and chassis. But a 4-door sedan? Nah, this needed to be in something with 2 doors. So in 1971, Nissan gave Japan the KPGC-10 Nissan Skyline GTR Coupe. A meaner, smaller, racier version of the same angular GTR 4-door that came before it. This generation Skyline actually ended up becoming known for its boxy styling, and so it was given the nickname Hakosuka. Hako in Japanese meaning box, and Suka meaning skyline, as in the Japanese pronunciation of skyline. With the success of the Hakosuka, Nissan was ready to bring the Skyline into the 70s. So in 1973, they released the KPGC 110 Skyline GTR. This Skyline was an evolution of the previous GTR, with more modern styling.
What's up, YouTube? So today is ever, and if you guys today, my don't even drop. He finally so he boosted. He go fucking do this order shipping. So don't worry about anything. As soon as we have them shipped out, you put it into gear. If you ever let go of the clutch while it's in gear, you're gonna stall. So a tip for not stalling when driving stick is, when in doubt, clutch in. If you're not sure, clutch all the way in. If you clutch in, you will never stall, right? So we're gonna put in gear, watch. We're gonna try to attempt to almost stall. Let's try. As I let go of the clutch, the car is gonna start to hesitate.
And bigger disc brakes, but otherwise the
Well, today we'll be looking at fighters who stopped themselves from hitting their opponents. Some of these stopped themselves right mid-swing when told by the referee. Why? Well, just because they're nice people and didn't want to cheat. Others, though, had to beg the referee to stop the fight because their opponent was taking a beating that was completely unnecessary and the fight needed to be stopped. Sometimes the referee just messes up, and luckily these fighters were nice. Let's start off with this fight between Roy Jones Jr. and Brian Brannon. This was a pretty quick fight, and it went into the second round where Jones was very much in his prime, still undefeated, so he was putting a real beating on poor Brannon and put him down in the second round.
Power over that extended arc.
Every punch is being blocked by Roy Jones. And he lets the guy throw his punches and thinks, okay, now it's my turn.
Brannon was able to recover from the shot and got up, but was visibly hurt.
The Trenton crowd can't believe what they're seeing. They were so against Roy Jones, and their man is just getting hammered in there now. Ron Lipton watching as Roy Jones tattoos Brannon, and then Jones says, look, you want more? Okay.
Yeah, maybe the fight should have been stopped when Jones said, or maybe earlier because Brannon was almost out on his feet. Apparently, the referee later stated that Brannon had seen him the night before at a restaurant and told him not to stop the fight prematurely. So he said he was going to give both fighters the benefit of the doubt, and only stopped it once he was on the canvas. Jones was landing too cleanly before the knockout for him not to stop the fight though. But Brannon appealed to his former boxing career and told him that this was his big shot, and he gave it to him. This is probably some of them. This is an incredible stop by this kickboxer who was putting a pretty good beating on her opponent, and in one of those sequences this incredible pullback happens.
바디킥. 다시 한번 킥공격.
That body kick was devastating, and her opponent was unable to cover up, and she was completely uncovered. Luckily, the ref called for a standing 8 count, which stopped the onslaught, but that kick was going with full power right to her head. How did she manage to pull it back? The girl is extremely lucky that the referee was so good, and that her opponent has incredible strength and reflexes to stop that head kick. Now we have this MMA fight between Mike Pantenko and Jeremy Razor. Pantenko was winning the fight big time, putting on a serious beating on poor Razor, but then suddenly the most unexpected thing happened. Yeah, you just saw that right. That guy winning the fight tapped out. Pantenko could have been a terrible guy and could have just kept teeing off on this poor guy, but instead he took the loss in order to save this poor guy. This was his explanation.
I just feel that it's no point fighting him because he didn't train against me and I didn't train for him, and I just feel like we're amateur fighter, we don't get money, we don't get paid. And I know that the only thing I'm gonna finish the fight is him to go in hospital or get hurt. I just feel like terrible, so I'm just gonna give him the win.
The only question I have is, does Razor feel any resentment or anger towards Pantenko for possibly making him look bad? I hope not, and hope he understands that he was getting destroyed. And based on these images, I think he did. Carlos Monzon had an amazing career, fighting 100 times and only lost 3 of them. In his final fight against Rodrigo Valdez, which was their second meeting after Monzon won the first fight, Monzon was defending his belt, and he even got knocked down in this fight in the second round.
Well, there's nothing pulled here. Those punches are really sinking in. All delivered with a knuckle part. Hard punches. Oh, that's the first time that Monzon has...
Then later in the third round, Valdez slipped in the corner and Monzon held himself back.
Leaning rather heavily, to say the least, at one another close in, and there's bound to be some cuts. Oh, that was a good sidestep by the Matador there, and he's perfectly in order to...
Monzon could have easily let go of his hands, landing punches on Valdez, who wouldn't be able to really defend himself, but instead he held back and let him get situated again. This is incredible restraint by Monzon, and it just makes him look like a great and respectable champion. Monzon did end up winning the fight by unanimous decision. Back in 2015, Willis Meehan was boxing against Liami Tato in the heavyweight division and was beating him really clearly. They closed out the first round with Tato barely being able to stand in the corner, and Meehan was looking at the ref with disgust already. In the second round, Meehan was landing clean heavy punches once again, and Tato was clearly out on his feet. But the referee just kept watching like an idiot. How bad do you have to be at your job that the fighter himself has to tell you to stop the fight because the opponent is clearly out and is receiving unnecessary damage? Those were 42 seconds that were completely unnecessary. I love how Meehan hugs Tato and keeps the ref away from him since he obviously doesn't care about his health at all. Nigel Benn was a very hard-hitting middleweight champion that had 35 knockouts in his 42 wins. In one of his early career fights against Ian Chandler, it took one round for the fight to end.
One fight, and he's just in it for the first time from Terry Marsh. For my money, it was the first punch of the fight from Ben. Bang on the button, and you've got to say...
Ben could have easily landed 2 or 3 more shots on Chandler in this sequence, but he showed his great sportsmanship and restraint by holding back, knowing that Chandler was already out and this fight was already decided. You see tons of fights where boxers keep landing shots even when the opponent has already put his hand or knee on the ground, but Ben is a really nice boxer.